Welcome back to a sold-out RAC Arena here for the biggest day on the netball calendar. It's grand final action between the home side, the West Coast Fever, and the minor premiers, the Melbourne Vixens. Just over 60 minutes of game time. We'll be crowning your champions for 2022. Joining me in commentary, three premiership winners themselves, Madison Brown, Nat Medhurst, and of course Shani Norda, who will be in and around the action. Let's get a look at the Woolworths team cards and a reminder of how the sides will start. Janelle Fowler and Sasha Glasgow in goals for the West Coast Fever. Teague Neald and Simmons in the midcourt. Anstis Ariang and their captain, Courtney Bruce.
I mean, you look at the Vixens, they're starting exactly the same way that they've been. It's like their true tested formula that's worked for them all season. Kawenda, we see Austin back into that mix after having COVID. Watson, Maloney and Eddie in that centre court with Weston and Mannix, and I'm sure we will see the inclusion of some of their bench, whether it's all of it or it's just that impact of Liv Lewis and also the Suncorp super shooter, Rani Sanderson.
Yeah, we'll definitely be seeing her at some point, won't we? Right now, though, let's get courtside for the acknowledgement of country performed by Noongar man Jaden Boundary.
To conduct the acknowledgement of country in the Noongar language.
Kaya bandang, ngan wajak Noongar buja, ngan wajak Noongar mamen, ngan ana bria kor mort, bria milia mort, ngan yang mort kor barn, mira, ngandang, bula bardip, karlak nyat, karijim buja, wajak Noongar buja, nija buja, burle, kwabadak buja, kawa. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jaden Boundary. I'm a Wajak Baladong Noongar. My family has danced, walked, sung, told stories around the fire on this country and cared for this country for a very long time. I emphasize that we cared for this land. Right here where we are standing, this land, its name is Burlu. It is a sacred, special place for us. I acknowledge my elders, past, present and future, and my elders that are here today as well. May we have a fantastic day today and enjoy this beautiful sport.
We now ask everyone who is able to be upstanding for the Australian national anthem to be performed by the Australian Girls Choir.
Well, what a moment, Maddie. Not only a very special acknowledgement of country, but an anthem that would give you chills. And this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's the big stage. It's the biggest of stage. As we see the teams come together in their final huddles, what do you think the last instructions will be?
Just to go, you know what, embrace this moment, enjoy, especially for the Fever, feed on the energy that's being created here by this crowd. They are packed to the rafters. Vixens, they need to just connect, stay connected with each other, make sure they use each other in this moment to stay up and about, but it's all going to come down to these first 5 minutes for both of these teams. They need to come out strong because we've seen in previous games, whoever gets that really first big edge continues on for the rest of the game.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the first quarters are the best for both of these sides. So let's see exactly what happens as the West Coast Fever are called out onto the court, and you can hear the crowd roaring for each and every player. It is a stadium packed full of green, and they will be willing their side to their first premiership in the 25 years of competition at this level. Sunday Ariang moves into position. This will be one of the biggest crowds. The captain, Courtney Bruce. And doesn't she have a big job on her hands today up against Maui Kimwenda, another international. And here she is coming out for the Melbourne Vixens. And they've had to do it the hard way, the Melbourne Vixens. They barely scraped through, coming back from a 15-point deficit in that prelim final. Maddie, do you think they may have played their grand final last week?
Look, they've been probably struggling for a couple of weeks even before those finals, just scraping through some wins. But last week, I think that is the confidence they absolutely needed to know that when it got tough, they could stand up, each and every one of them, and play their role and get across the line.
And here comes our beautiful little ball deliverer, the Woolies little leader. It is 9-year-old Ella from Baldivis Netball Club. What a moment for her as she gives the ball off to the Vixens co-captain, Kate Maloney, who gets us underway here in the grand final. Watson, plenty of ball will be in her hand this afternoon. Back to Weston. Austin, well, we'll keep an eye on her, won't we? Coming back from COVID, but that connection has been seamless already, and we want to see more of that.
And you even saw a little bit of a positional switch. Bruce coming out, Ariang coming back to the circle, trying to change it up already at the start.
Verity Simmons, well, the hands over really putting the pressure on, aren't they? And we mentioned the importance of getting to circle edge, really for both sides to be able to hit that one-on-one inside the circle. Really hesitant early to go to Fowler. Normally we would see that ball thrown with a lot more confidence. It makes its way there nonetheless.
Vixens doing that nice cross-court ball. Bruce getting her hands on early. That is dangerous. When she's up and about, she starts to touch it early. That's where her confidence is built from.
Well, the issue there, of course, is you don't want again, as you mentioned it. Right on cue, Courtney Bruce, 2 tips in the first couple of minutes. But you don't want the Vixens to steer away from what they were doing. Well, is that a telling miss from Kira Austin or just the nerves of a big occasion?
She works it a little bit shorter to Kimwenda. It is in this first 5 minutes, it's just about kind of weathering that intensity, settling those nerves, and the team that can do it quicker, as we see on the Harvey Norman replay. It just wasn't put into enough space there for Kimwenda.
Well, as I mentioned, Nat Medhurst on the sideline for us. Courtney Bruce up and about early, Nat.
She is, and even from that first centre pass, you could see her hedging. So she is, I guess, trying to confuse the space to look like she's going to have a crack, and she will go out for a fly. But if Vixens are smart and have someone driving, they can actually use the ball quite smartly. As we see a beautiful shot there from Glasgow, but they can use the ball smartly to shift Bruce and actually open up some space for them.
Yeah, she will absolutely follow the ball, won't she? And Vixens are smart enough to probably have worked that out in that semi-final, but they'll need to settle and not let Courtney Bruce get too fired up. Kira Austin sinks her second.
She's a little bit hesitant on that shot, a couple of extra balks than usual.
Oh, there's where she's been so good all season though. Kira Austin, quite often the most defensive gains across the team, really does the workload in that space.
That was mentioning, obviously, the Fever defence being really active. You can see here with the Vixens, they're working that split circle, they're hedging the space, they're doubling back, obviously, on Fowler, but trying to attack that ball out the front as well.
Kimwenda out of the circle again. Spoken a lot about her staying in on that one-on-one where she's so dominant right there under the post. Oh, well, Kimwenda, she thought there was a penalty outside the circle. A little bit of miscommunication. Umpires for today's game, Gemma Cook, Tara Warner, Bronwyn Adams as well.
And that is a rare fumble that we see from Fowler. Here's that extra little step there.
Well, she thought the penalty was going to come against Ariang, who was on the ground. Kate Eddy, strong take and wants to get on with it. Watson, back to Weston, Eddy, Maloney. Staying up on that transverse line, aren't they? Nice and patient here, the Melbourne Vixens.
The ball is being whipped around at a frantic but intense pace. You saw a little bit of miscommunication there from Watson to Kawenda.
Yeah, but for me on that one, Kawenda pulled out of the contest. This is a grand final. Even if you're going to get cleaned up, you have to have a crack at that ball. Here it is on the Harvey Norman replay. Just pulled back and pulled her arms back. I'm going to get injured. Put your head down, get into it. Simmons. Well, there it is. There's the connection, and we see that from long distance, time and time again. There it is, Simmons working herself into the game.
Well, the one before obviously slipped through Fowler's hands, but that one's a nice confidence boost to just settle. 5 minutes has passed now. Now it's time to stick to the structures and start to put a little bit more extra score on the board here for the Fever, I would think.
Simmons, circle edge, and again, well, I thought she was going to go straight to the Jamaican. Glasgow appeared in front and is having no issue from distance, Sasha Glasgow.
For someone who only had 3 goals in the semi-final, she's already starting to make a bit of a presence on that scoreboard.
Have a look at those stats. No problems there whatsoever. Dan Ryan will be very happy. Man, if they can keep that up. Ariang out having a contest. And Courtney Bruce is having a crack at absolutely everything.
We do talk about that, though. You've got to set that intent in defence with the umpires, show them, you know, what you're going to be having a crack at, and that kind of sets the tone. Rather than going in a little bit softer or kind of sitting off the body and then coming to attack it, you'll then start to find yourself a little bit out of play.
Glasgow out of the circle. Short one back to Simmons. Waits patiently. Yeah, the contact call coming against Joe Weston. Let's get down again to Nat Medhurst, been impressed by Sasha Glasgow.
Yeah, we know, we touched on Glasgow pre-game and the work that she needs to do, and particularly against someone like Joe Weston, who loves it. Wow, incredible turnover by Teague Neal there. She needs to, off the centre pass, I'd like to see her have a bit more emphasis on her movement. It's a bit slow, to be honest, so she needs to really make sure she doesn't get in loopy runs with Joe Weston alongside of her, because she'll just love playing that sort of game. So particularly off the centre pass, dropping back quicker with a bit more emphasis around it will help open up the space.
Good point you make, Nat. There's probably a time for it, though, when there's a clear one-on-one. Obviously, she doesn't want to be in the circle and mix up that space, but you're right, she's got to get in there and be an option. As we see the circle feeds there, look at the difference. 14 to the West Coast Fever, just the 6 to the Melbourne Vixens. Oh, whoa, Joey Weston. She did well, didn't she, to get a hand on that. Got her feet around. And that is going to be what this game is all about, the footwork, getting yourself in the best possible position and having a crack.
Well, she was sweeping the baseline, but then found herself in the contest.
Oh, Courtney Bruce again. Well, the timing on it was spectacular, wasn't it? She waited until that 3rd second, really made Kira Austin have a good long think about it. And that's what you've got to do early, because that's just putting more and more doubt into the heads of Kawenda and Austin.
And one thing we probably haven't even touched on is Austin, very experienced player, has played for the Diamonds, never played in the grand final. As we see another turnover slip through the Vixens' hands. I've been really impressed so far with how patient the Fever have been. They've looked for options, they've obviously had to go back a few times.
And that's a very telling stat, isn't it? There's been 4 turnovers to the Melbourne Vixens already. We mentioned their turnovers in that semi-final, a lot higher than they had been in their wins against the West Coast Fever.
Both teams need to keep it under 20 when they're successful. Over, that's when they become unstuck.
Oh, Janelle Fowler kept it in, but couldn't get it to finish, and obviously have to be on the court to take the ball, which she couldn't get herself in. Have a look here. So falling out of court, gets a bit of a nudge.
But it's that defensive pressure from Mannix to kind of force her close to the baseline and make that feeder have to be really centimetre perfect on that feed.
Maloney, absolutely undefended, as was Lizzie Watson. The quick double play between Watson and Austin. Is she good from here after a little bit of a shaky shot before? She is. Won the difference. 6 and a bit minutes to go. 100% shooting Kawenda. The 4 from 4, just the 1 miss to Austin. And I'm here to say early, Janelle Fowler is not having it her own way in this first quarter, is she?
No, she looks a little bit frazzled there, and they're not lifting the ball with confidence, or she's not demanding it. She's just kind of standing there waiting for the feeders to feed it. I'd like to see her hand up and saying, yes, feed it to me. I'm on a really strong hold.
And that's exactly what I want to see from Kimwenda down the other end as well. It's very wishy-washy here at the moment. Neither player is demanding the ball. As a feeder, you would know, you want your shooter, your goal attack screaming at you, give it to me.
Yeah, I had the person on the sideline doing that a few times, Nat Medhurst. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I remember that look. Oh, gives me chills even now.
Let them set the penalty.
We can also see, obviously, on the Fever arms, they're wearing black armbands for Jess Anstis Auntie, who unfortunately passed away through the week. An emotional week already with a grand final, but a lot more feeling there for her. So it's lovely to see, obviously, the team get around that.
Still won the difference, the West Coast Fever, as we have our first HCF timeout going the way of the West Coast Fever. They are in control, but clearly Dan Ryan recognised something and he wants to get hold of his troops and chat through. Let's get down to the huddle and have a listen, see if we can pick up exactly that.
Attackers, right? Extra option on the ball, so we're giving our back two room to fill. Right, really important on that. We're getting some great defensive ball and turnovers. Got to make sure we lock in and make them count. So keep the game short, give the chip ball, but make sure we've got the multiple options. Just got to make that one adjustment and we're a step up. All right, slight little shift, guys. Inside. So you're starting on the outside and you're giving you the advantage already. All right, so hustle for that middle corridor, and Alice is getting first phase, you're attacking second.
Really good start. We're weathering the storm now. Now we take control of this game, okay? It's in our hands. Vixens 3! 1, 2, 3, let's go!
Well, Maddie Brown, we heard Dan Ryan there, plenty to say. What'd you pick up?
He talked about having that extra option onto the ball so the back can actually fill. We're seeing, obviously, Jess Anstis and Ariane having to bring it down a little bit. He also said, when we get that turnover ball, we have to lock it in and make it count. Keep the ball moving, keep it short, sharp. We don't need to look too long, but expect to have a little bit more options for that person with the ball in hand.
Well, in the other huddle, we just heard Lizzie Watson say, we've weathered a few storms here. Now it's time to take control of the game. Verity Simmons starts us off again here, back to Anstis. Up the middle, Teague Neal. Hasn't she been a master stroke selection in that wing attack position this season? Really tight little zone just around the top of the circle. And it's really making it hard for the West Coast Fever.
There's hands over pressure everywhere. They're second-guessing the space, where to feed. It's excellent defence intent from the Vixens early on.
Lizzie Watson to Austin, back to Watson. Again, the quick double play between the two. And Austin has since found the radar from that distance. There is the siren now in the Power 5. If you are joining us and new to our great game, every shot taken within the white arc of the circle is now worth 2 points in the last 5 minutes of this quarter. West Coast Fever not prepared to go there. Why would you? Janelle Fowler right under the post.
I mean, you look at some of these stats here, Kath, and what's been really impressive for the Vixens is their gained ball to goal. 100% they've scored off, and that just gives them a little bit of an extra edge. They're a little bit slow on their centre pass conversion, so I'd expect that to pick up. But it is all about, as the captain, co-captain Watson said, weathering some of those storms, chipping away at the scoreboard, but then starting to back each other in and get that confidence and build through each minute.
Well, Sasha Glasgow live from here, and she drains the Suncorp super shot of the game. Dan Ryan is on his feet. He loves it. The crowd love it. There'll be plenty of those coming in this game. Oh, another tip from Ariane in the ball, the way of the West Coast Fever.
And you even hear the players asking the umpire where to set it, because this crowd is electric already in this first quarter.
Long ball, Anstis to Glasgow. Ariane. Again, Glasgow. Plenty of chat. And it's an obstruction call against Verity Simmons. So just like that, ends up back in the hands of the Melbourne Vixens. Kawenda doesn't look at the post, but you know Kira Austin will from here, and she goes one as well. 2 Suncorp Super netball shots to start this first quarter.
This is this extra option Coach Dan Ryan was asking for, coming at the person with the ball in hand. Let's not go back unless we really have to, but we need multiple options coming forward.
Teague Neal over the top to Simmons. Glasgow out, Fowler, double teamed, but strong enough to pull it in.
The hedging work from Weston out the front is really making those Fever feeders second guess to feed that ball into Fowler. Whether she will tire as the game goes on, that confidence to let it go a little bit earlier may build.
Or whether they will tire as the game goes on. It's a tough one to play. Whether Glasgow will step up. There is a whole range of ifs, isn't there? And plenty of time to find them all out. Austin again. Can she sink? No, she can't. Kawenda keeps it alive. Well, the scrapping for the balls, one of the best in the competition, the Melbourne Vixens.
It is about those little 1%ers. You've got to keep attacking, as you asked Kawenda in that first couple of seconds of the game. You've got to contest. Don't back out. You've got to go for everything. There is no next week after this one.
Won the difference. 2 minutes to go in this opening quarter of your 2022 Grand Final. Glasgow. That is a long-range shot, and that is a beauty of a Janelle Fowler, the best offensive rebounder in the competition. I'd take that gamble on the long-distance shot every time.
She's only just in the front of the circle. Harvey Norman replay, you see it. She gets up nice and tall to that rebound.
Maloney, Kawenda again outside the circle. Good little mix-up though. Kira Austin put the foot down on that baseline drive and keeps it at 1 the difference. Anstis, Simmons. Yeah, all too easy that time. But they're getting greedy a little bit here, the West Coast Fever. Why not another Suncorp super shot to Sasha Glasgow?
I think we see too often teams wait until those last quarters. Now's the time to put the foot down just as much as in the fourth quarter as well.
Well, if you can deflate an opposition, all the better for it as Courtney Bruce continues to put needles in the balloon, trying to pop the bubble here. Austin, nowhere to go. Another miscommunication in attack, and look how quickly the West Coast Fever have made it to Fowler, and another point on the board for the difference in the blink of an eye to the West Coast Fever.
Timeout, Vixens.
Well, Simone McInnes doesn't like it. It's got out too far, too quickly. She's called the HCF timeout. And we'll get down and have a listen to that, Maddie. That happened so quickly, didn't it? Let's have a listen to Kate Maloney.
Sideline. Let's go. We've got to be composed and steady. Plant our feet, make sure we're seeing the options. Got to pick up Sasha. Yes, pick up Sasha.
The one who's top, I was fine.
Okay, let's go. No score here.
We're rushing, no score here. That's our goal, right?
Come on.
Let's go, Vixen, 3. 1, 2, 3, Vixen.
You heard Liz Watson say rushing, we're rushing. That's the goal attack and wing attack, flooding down onto that centre pass. It's Vixen's centre pass. They want to take up that space. Maybe they can fly through a little bit from behind and get a tip here to get that turnover ball.
Well, this just goes to show the importance of this game, doesn't it? There's only 36 seconds left in this quarter, but she wants her timeout. She wants to stop this flow before it gets any worse, and they head into this quarter time break looking at a bigger margin to fight their way back from.
Well, the history of both of these teams throughout the 2022 season has been the start is the crucial element to winning the game.
Yeah, the West Coast Fever have won 67% of their first quarters. As I mentioned before, it is their best, as is their second. Teague Neal, Simmons, long ball, the confidence is coming now to Janelle Fowler, isn't it? And they're now up by 5. 20 seconds to play. Here's your last 10, and it's the last 3 the way of the West Coast Fever. Before that, it was goal for goal.
The Fever working that box defence, really shutting down the space.
7 seconds to go. Kira Austin, a timely one to bring it back to 4. Well, Verity Simmons, she'll do her best to hold on to possession here. And there it is, the whistle for the end of the first quarter, and it's the West Coast Fever leading by 4 as we end this first quarter. Let's get down now to Shani Norda, who's with the Diamonds head coach. Well, not just yet, but certainly an impressive first quarter, wasn't it, from the West Coast Fever? A little shaky to start from both sides. You expect that in a game like this, in a big game like a grand final, but they settled the quicker of the two sides, Maddie.
They did, and you know, we said Janelle Fowler wasn't really giving too much to her teammates, but she started to find some really, really strong holds. And the Vixens, as they said, they weathered the storm and then came out and started to find their feet.
Okay, let's get down now to Shani Norda, who's with the Diamonds head coach, Stacey Marinkovic.
Stace, a big first quarter. What did you take out of that?
Yeah, I think obviously a bit of body clashes out there, and I thought that they would stamp authority and who's going to win the starting positions. And then just, I think Vixen started to build to let the ball go, but I thought Fever started running hard early. So it's going in ebbs and flows, but the 2-point shot's going to play a part today.
Can the Vixens fight back?
Oh, absolutely. 10 goals last quarter, so this game is wide open still.
All right, we'll find out. We'll be back for the second quarter.
Welcome back. That was quarter time, brought to you by Origin Energy. The West Coast Fever up by 4 as they chase their first premiership in 25 years. Melbourne Vixens got a little bit of work to do, but certainly not panic stations, as we just heard the Diamonds head coach Stacey Marinkovic say before the break. Wenda out. Austin in, and a really balanced shooting circle for the two of them so far.
It has, but I would say Kawenda's been a little bit quieter. She hasn't really attacked the ball like we usually see. We heard that in the Vixens huddle at the quarter-time break from Simone McInnes. Like, attack the ball in both defence and attack, and have the confidence to let it go.
Well, a reminder, the last grand final, these two sides played in 2020. The Vixens won. Kawenda was the MVP, so it's in her. We've seen it time and time again, as she takes a ball in the sweet spot, gets them back to 3. Here's the Harvey Norman replay, and we can see the challenges coming thick and fast from the Fever captain, Courtney Bruce, sitting at 6 deflections in 1 quarter of netball. She keeps that pace up, Maddie.
I mean, she was the best. She was the best in the league for the entire season. What you love to see is those tips, but it's also when they come to game ball for your team.
And that often comes in the last few minutes of the game, doesn't it? Because it's just building that pressure. Here's your shooting stats, though. As you'd imagine, the bulk coming through, Fowler, just the 1 miss. And then really solid support from Sasha Glasgow early. Kamwenda keeps it within 3, so goal for goal in this second quarter. And there's your Melbourne Vixens shooting stats. As we mentioned, nice and balanced.
Yeah, I was going to say the Vixen shooting circle have done really well in the fact that Austin's getting in and sweeping and kind of drawing Bruce out and leaving that one-on-one contest of Ariane and Kawenda. So watch that the next time it goes down. Nice strong hold there, placed into position. Fowler just doesn't look herself today.
Well, she's certainly not having it her own way, and she's not often in that position. So how she personally responds to that, I mean, she is a legend, isn't she? So I'm sure she'll respond pretty sweetly. Kamwenda down the other end.
But it's that positive energy and being up and about, not only for yourself in these big moments and in these big games, but it can ripple through the attack end. So you want to be able to stand tall and present, but also show that confidence in your energy as well.
Well, one slipping through the fingers there of Verity Simmons. Get down to Nat Medhurst again. Not just the players with a big job to do here, Nat.
No, it's not. It's the umpires. And you touched on it just then, Kath, around Fowler not having her own way. The umpires are letting a lot of contesting going. We know that players are holding on to their arms. So from the players, as we see another ball go over the edge there, the players really need to be strong. And the other thing that we saw at the end of that first quarter is the umpires are willing to call time, to not allow the players to time waste. So this game can come down to milliseconds, so it'll be interesting whether or not this holding of the time of the passages of play will come into play at some point during this game.
Very good point you make, Nat, because normally when the ball goes out of court, that time is only ever called in the last quarter. So they're well and truly onto it here, aren't they?
They're making the
Gemma
plays.
Cook and Tara Warner.
Yeah, they want the players to play for every second of this grand final. We want to see that contest right to the very end.
Yeah, well, we want to see the play every second of this grand final, don't we? Yeah, there's a good connection, and it looks to me like they're finding Kawenda a little easier in this quarter, and it's been that one-on-one contest every time. Teague Neal, oh, the confidence! Well, let's put it down to a hospital pass. Really, Verity Simmons in back of play. She's up now, but there was a little army roll to finish. And the Vixens, a bit more freedom in attack. Kate Maloney, big job for her today. There it is again, that one-on-one. And it's generally the mismatch, isn't it, between Ariane?
Absolutely, you see that, having on replay, that cross-court pass, Emily Mannix coming out and Verity Simmons doing a backward roll.
10 points.
But that's exactly what the Vixens want to force the Fever into doing, those cross-court passes, elevating it up nice and high and having a fly.
Well, again, when it's a one-on-one with Ariane, they're letting it go every time, even if they're off the circle edge. There's a lot more confidence there than if it's Bruce.
There was a little bit too much on that feed, though.
Yeah, a little bit of a push in the back from Mannix, and the penalty will be taken. Well, the penalty's coming thick and fast now. As much as we mentioned, the umpires were letting it go.
The defenders are getting lots of aerial tips as a shooter, Kath. Is it the holding position or is it coming off too early, you think, for both shooters?
Well, it's probably a bit of both. And the ball placement, obviously, you don't want it in the air too long when you've got a defender pushing you, because that's more time you're getting pushed out of the way. And there's your deflections. As we mentioned, Courtney Bruce, the bulk of them, has been outstanding so far. And the goals from games, all the positive stats favouring the West Coast Fever, which is why they're still sitting with that 3-point buffer. Watson to Kamwenda, back to Watson. Oh, plenty of push and shove going on. And the umpire, has she cited blood? No. Time on again, and it goes in to Kira Austin. Didn't they miss her last week? Made such a difference just in the play out the front, and certainly what she's been able to do on the shot.
It's all very much the Vixens' way in this second quarter. They're just finding space a lot easier, walking the ball.
Well, what do you make of this mismatch, though? Why is it that we're constantly seeing Courtney Bruce trying to pick up Glasgow?
She's flying out. She's obviously,
sorry, Austin.
Yeah, she's going out for the fly where, you know, maybe she needs to actually stay at the post, really protect it with Kamwenda there. Just shut down your own opponent, get Ariane back out onto Austin, work that one-on-one, and then you can start to fly again, but you need to grind it out for a couple of minutes.
Well, it seems weird to change what was working so well in the first quarter for them. Maybe that's an instruction from Dan Ryan, though. He doesn't want anyone getting predictable in this grand final.
But if it worked in the first quarter, Vixens have had that timeout. They've obviously started to work a little bit shorter, sharper, they're chipping away. Here we see her a bit more closer to post. Force her out and then get straight back in there.
Well, another loose ball, and the pickup's going the way of the West Coast Fever. Simmons, where does she go? She goes over the top to Teague Neal. Glasgow. Another little double play, and every single ball is being contested at this point. Sasha Glasgow gets them back to that 3-point buffer.
I mean, we know how dominant both teams can be in the super shot. And teams we've heard throughout the season talk about winning the first 10 minutes, not to leave it up to that power play.
Maloney to Watson. Austin. Where does she go? Well, she went to go long, but again, it's Courtney Bruce that's in the way. Another tip from the captain. I'll tell you what, she's leaving no stone unturned in this grand final.
It's exactly what you want from a captain. You want her to lead from the front, when things get tough, you look to that person to lift, and she definitely is today for the Fever.
Well, she did it in the very first ball down that end of the court, didn't she? And she's not wavered from that. Well, the penalties was one of the issues in the semi-final for the Melbourne Vixens. Starting to blow out a little bit, 27 already. They need to be in the contest to stop this ball flying into Janelle Fowler.
Yeah, they had 60 in the semi-final, so they really need to start pulling that back as we see a HCF timeout called. Not surprised.
Yeah, it's going the way of the Melbourne Vixens, isn't it? They find themselves down by 5. And Simone McInnes doesn't look thrilled. Let's get down and have a listen.
The movement stopped a bit down in that attack end. The work rate dropped off. So we've got to keep working to have those options down there in attack. And that placement of the ball, that comes back to timing. We're presenting and we're too early. So good timing, strong option. Some great work down there in that defence, and that worked much better when we put the hands over the penalty because they had to play it around. That's my excellent. Next 7 minutes, Rani's got his shooters, so it's a different structure. Remember, set up. Let's go. Work at the circle edge. Let's go. Bring it to you. Let's back ourselves down. I acknowledge we need let's play a strong off this set of pass, create some havoc, put some doubt in their mind, and have a go at the ball but staying in play. Let's do it. We got this. Fix on 3. 1, 2, 3, this.
Maddie Brown, what'd you make of that huddle?
Look, they spoke about, you know, we've got to go back to the basics, but the biggest thing is we see Kwenda off and Rani Samuelson injected. It's a great time, I think, you know, coming into that power play. You wanted to get her eye in as a shooter in the first couple of minutes. I loved what Joe Weston said at the end. Let's create some havoc and let's start to fly.
Yeah, Rani Samuelson is dangerous in the power 5, isn't she? But I don't think this is a bad change anyway. Certainly found Kwenda a little bit easier. Well, there you go, a turnover, and we mentioned how important Kira Austin was in defence for them. That is a tough game to play, though, isn't it? Particularly when you may be struggling the after effects of a week off due to COVID.
Outside.
Samuelson, you can see, trying to put a little screen on, protect the ball for Kira Austin. They get it back to 4. Melbourne Vixens centre pass to follow. Lizzie Watson, home alone. Yeah, a bit more movement now, isn't there? And demanding of the ball. Samuelson, what can she do with her first shot? Well, it dribbles in.
Just sneaks it in over the edge.
That's the grand final nerves dribble, we'll call that.
Yep.
Contact, wing attack.
One's out of the way. Should be good to go from here.
Simmons, Glasgow, easy into Fowler. Really well set up. You can see that happening all the way down the court, can't you? And then Fowler's positioning.
I mean, this has been an incredible defensive effort. I know they're trailing the Vixens, but to keep Janelle Fowler to just 21 attempts, we're nearly at half-time, when she can shoot well over the 50 to 60.
Yeah, well, she's averaging 58 a game, but in that semi-final, she had 67. So you're right, they're doing everything they need to at the moment, the Melbourne Vixens in defence, but really got to pick it up in attack. Glasgow, Teague Neal, Simmons, back to Teague Neal. And then the quick release, the two-handed above the head. Timeout called here. Initially, I thought it was going to be to chat with the players about the contact. Have a look here. You can just see, well, an accidental. Would we put that down to accidental shove or?
Bit of right shoulder there from Joe Weston.
Yeah, either way, probably served its purpose for a minute. Fowler.
Look, we mentioned about the umpires. You know, these women are very, very talented. They work hard in the gym. They know to take those contests. They know how to take those hard hits. As we look at the hits and net leaders, the match leaders, Glasgow, Bruce, Austin, Fowler and Simmons, very Fever dominated there.
How good to see Sasha Glasgow sitting at the top, though. So often we've spoken about the importance of that goal attack in front of someone like a Janelle Fowler, and she's doing the job for them as we hear the siren for the start of the Power 5. Rani Samuelson, the best accuracy in that department this season. She will be all important in this contest. Sasha Glasgow, very handy as well.
That is the luxury that the Fever do have, to be able to put out that two-point shot, know that they've got such a strong rebounder. Anytime you get in that power play zone, you definitely have a crack.
Oh, good vision from Lizzie Watson to Samuson, as I mentioned, loves this position. Doesn't get it, and it's the rebound to Courtney Bruce. Nat Medhurst, what have you made of this change in the shooting circle for the Vixens?
Well, it's not unexpected by McInnes. We know what Samuson can do out there with that two-point shot. What is going to be imperative for the Vixens is just the timing of their leads with Austin and Samuson, that they both like to put up the long shot so that they're both not hedging towards the ball at the same time and actually making it difficult for the feeders to be able to get that ball off to them.
Close to a short pass there.
A lot of the ball that goes in releases the two-handed
over the
head, isn't it? Really trying to clear the hands, the 3 feet distance.
Yeah, and what we saw work down the other end for the Vixens is balking, having a fake. Like, I'd love to see more use of the ball in hand. Fake it to the sideline, hopefully, or a step around rather than always elevating it from that highest point.
Anstis, Teague Neal. Oh, nowhere to go momentarily, but look who opens up to save the day. It's Janelle Fowler. Glasgow. Can she sink this one? No. Radar a little off for a moment, but again, it's Janelle Fowler that's picked up the offensive rebound. Now, clearly, the game plan, shoot them, and let her get the rebounds. Why would you not, Maddie?
Absolutely, why not? You've got the ability, you can see how good she is on the rebound. I mean,
that's just the second quarter too. 3 rebounds to the West Coast Fever.
Both offensively and offensively, Fever have been smashing it for these ones.
Samuson, can she sink one and get the radar back on? She does, and doesn't it come at a timely moment? A Suncorp super shot to Rani Samuson. Brings them back to 4.
She shot 10 out of 14 in that semi-final. She just needed maybe one little miss, find her eye in, but she's such a cool, composed customer.
It's certainly a confident shot too, isn't it? Janelle Fowler absolutely monstered Jo Weston in that contest. Well, we worried about her not really firing up. Have a look at this. Get out of my way. Janelle Fowler, so strong.
Weston just cowered over, hands over
well,
head.
Just quietly, I think I would too if Janelle Fowler was coming at me. All grand final fired up, just as Sasha Glasgow is. Oh, there it is, an HCF timeout again, and it's going to the West Coast Fever. So Dan Ryan again, whilst they're in a very good position here, the West Coast Fever up by 6. He just wants to continue to push, doesn't he? He wants to raise the bar. He wants to put this contest completely out of the way of the Melbourne Vixens.
JJ, all right, this is time and tempo for us, all right? Up and in control. What we need to make sure we're doing against them is when they're sitting offline, find the body, and our first move is off their body. So don't go sitting wide and be pushed wide. Find the body punch, give the first, second shit ball. We're actually getting in the groove really nicely of it. Just got to always be on it, all right?
Tighten up there. We're going to run an inger off the centre pass again, delay time, and we're hunting for more. So double hands, no penalties. Let's go.
All right, everyone in, everyone in, everyone in. All right, we're running the inger defensively, and it's about time and tempo and attack with a bit of aggression in our super shots, all right? So let's dig in here, guys. 2 minutes to go. Let's go. Come on.
0, 3, 1, 2, 3. Fever! Let's go. Drop. We're pushing on here. Okay, what is it? 2 minutes to go. Let's stay composed. Out and pass. We got this. Great job indeed. Let's go. Vixen 3. 1, 2, 3.
Early. Well, Maddie, to hear the aggression in the super shots excites me no end. We saw that early, but have a look at this stat. This is the second quarter only, 20 penalties to 8. That was an issue for the Melbourne Vixens in the semi-final, but what do they do, Maddie? Because obviously you want to contest the ball. How do they clean it up?
They need to go into a bit of that box or, you know, a windscreen wiper at the front, and I'm asking the centre and wing attack to be one-on-one, but to kind of second-guess that space in defence. And the defenders need to start to kind of shift in that split circle. They need to get off the body for a little bit, show that they can be clean, and then they can start to contest again.
Well, have a look for that, because that no doubt would have been a conversation Simone McInnes had as we just see another Suncorp super shot drop. And there it is again, via the sky for Janelle Fowler. 5-goal buffer here. 1 minute 20 to go in this first half of your 2022 grand final.
And we heard Dan Ryan talk about that time and tempo. When the Fever have the ball in hand, they want to control it. Put the Vixens under the pump. They're the ones chasing at this moment.
Well, very clear that Kira Austin wants to nail this. She had the opportunity to take that ball under the post. She was undefended. She put herself in super shot territory. Is that the right decision at this point?
Well, I think so. You're going into half-time. You know, you don't want to leave it until the third quarter.
Only 5 down.
Yeah, you got to have a crack.
You heard it here first, folks. You got to have a crack.
I mean, whether you'd work the short ball and get it into maybe Rani Samison's hands, that's her job. That's what her role is, to be out there.
Yeah, well, this is the beauty of this shooting lineup, and I can't say it enough, can I? Someone that will absolutely dominate under the post, and then someone that can dominate from the outside. Have a look at those stats from Fowler. It's the middle under the post that is the sweet spot. 14 from 14. All the way back to Courtney Bruce. Simmons. Teague Neal. Long to Fowler outside the circle. Doesn't matter though, because it's a beautiful little roll that gets her back under the post. Just toying with Mannix now though. Can't get it in before the end of half-time. The West Coast Fever dominant in that second quarter. They took the first one 18-14 and the second 17-15. Have a look at the face. Don't think she realised how quickly she needed to shoot it up. Nonetheless, the West Coast Fever up by 6. And let's get straight down to Nat Medhurst. He's with one of the Melbourne Vixens.
Kira, you said pre-game you were feeling good. Half a game of netball under your belt now. How are you feeling out there?
Yeah, I think the event of what a grand final is definitely playing a toll on all the players out there. So definitely got another half in me, but hopefully we can bring back this gap.
And the gap isn't that big, but it probably feels a lot bigger with this crowd. So I guess how do you guys go back into the change room now, halftime, compose yourself and actually, I guess, the reality of the situation that you're in and cope with that?
Probably take a big breath to start with and just go back to what we need to do, our game plan, execute our basics a little bit better and just get around each other.
And there's a bit of a switch as well. Bruce is coming out on you. Is that changing how you're playing?
No, I think that's what we expect from Bruce. She's reads the play really well, so I think we just need to give the ball before she even gets there.
No worries, thank you. Good luck for the second half.
Thank you to Nat. Thank you to Kira. Welcome back to RAC Arena. Here's just what transpired at the halftime break. A chat, Janelle Fowler with the umpires. The captain, Courtney Bruce, needs to be present. Janelle Fowler, though, questioning some of the contact on the arm on the shot and also in the contest, Maddie.
And we've probably seen that kind of written a little bit over her face when we've panned to her on the camera. She doesn't look comfortable. She looks a bit uneasy. And that's a credit to the Vixens' defence, as we also see a change down that defensive lineup for the Vixens as well.
Well, let's get straight down now to the head coach of the Melbourne Vixens, Simone McInnes. Simone, down by 6. What was your message at halftime?
Message was that it's some simple mistakes by us, and we've just got to play it, get it back ball by ball, score off this first centre pass for starters. So it's in our hands.
Simone, you've obviously injected Olivia Lewis into the game. Was that because penalties were starting to creep up?
Started to get penalties, started to get a bit caught on the bodies. Oh, effort, Joe. But just something. Liv's very good at working on and off the body. So that's and having a go at ball. So we'll see.
All right, thanks so much, Simone. We'll leave you to it.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a tough job for the coaches, isn't it? There is so much going on, and they do play every single ball. Well, let's get down now also to Dan Ryan, the head coach of the West Coast Fever. Dan, you've got to be fairly happy with your opening half.
Yeah, good start from the girls to win the first 2, really important, and they're just doing the basics really well and, putting the Vixens under pressure, and, there's another level in us, so we've got to find it in the third quarter.
Dan, you talked about having a few extra things up your sleeve. Can we see them in this second half, or are you happy to settle with what's usually been working?
Well, it's a grand final. You've got to keep pushing and digging deeper than you've ever dug before. So there's more in these girls, and I back them in every day to get the job done.
And you also mentioned about, that relationship with pressure. How have you found your team take on this challenge, being a home grand final?
Well, they've endured it really well. They're using their heads. They're weathering the storm. They're thinking their way through things. So far, exceptionally well.
Thank you, Dan, as we just see a brilliant take from Janelle Fowler. Dan Ryan could not get rid of the headset fast enough. He's up on his feet, applauding his goal shooter. As I mentioned, they play every ball, these coaches. Here's the Harvey Norman replay. Wow, you don't often see Fowler on stretch like that. That ball was to the rafters. 5 the difference here in the second half of your Suncorp Super Netball Grand Final. Who runs away with it from here, Maddie, or are we looking at a goal-for-goal fight to the death?
Oh, look, Vixens have been down by more in the game and been able to fight back, but the Fever, you see Janelle Fowler coming out. She looks a little bit more confident. She's getting a little bit more up and about. I think the Fever are going to run away with this one, Pat.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with you as we just see the Harvey Norman replay going into Janelle Fowler. And the little shoves continue to come outside the circle. My concern was the pressure on the West Coast Fever, but they're not showing any signs of that in this
Well,
game.
I think they need to keep this buffer, and if they can keep this buffer, they'll go a long way to winning it. If it gets a bit closer, I think that's where the experience and also a little bit of those nerves and jitters and past experiences in these big moments may creep into their heads.
Simmons, Teague Neal. Looks long, nothing on offer, goes short again to Simmons. Glasgow out of the circle, the double defence inside the circle. Well, really no issue finding either Glasgow or Fowler at this point for the West Coast Fever. They take it to 6 points. Nat Medhurst on the sideline for us.
Yeah, off the Vixens centre passes, a lot of the time Fever are trying to isolate Kira Austin when she's got the ball. So it just needs some smart work from the Vixens mid-quarters and trying to then find themselves free. Otherwise, I'd actually like to see Austin perhaps even take herself away from the centre pass and actually start deeper and change the way in which then the Fever are actually setting up their defence, because it'll just make them think and make her more of a threat.
Well, Janelle Fowler, wow, is absolutely on stretch in this game here in Perth.
I just want to add on the Vixen centre pass, as we see on the Harvey Norman replay. Have a look down in that lower screen. What a take. Doesn't matter where the ball is, she can pull it in. But with the Vixen centre pass, lots of the time there's 2 over the line. So I think it's a great strategy that Nat mentioned for Austin to get back. Go back door. You're usually really dominant of using your back on the centre pass. Utilise them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 4 players that can take that centre pass. It doesn't always have to go through the front 2 attackers, the wing attack and the goal attack. As we mentioned, Kimwenda's stats, no issue with accuracy. Probably just a little hard to find it in that opening quarter. Glasgow undefended outside the circle again. Here is the miss of net points. The match leaders, and it's Glasgow and Fowler. That there is the dominance in this game. Sasha Glasgow continuing to impress as there's an offensive contact against the captain, Lizzie Watson. Oh, and it's just another opportunity for the West Coast Fever, isn't it? There's those penalties just continuing to blow out.
And the only way to stay in this contest is to build that pressure. So defensively, sitting off in that space, trying to take away some of that movement from the centre quarters for the Fever. What the Fever are doing well to counteract that is they're doing those give and goes. They're getting off the body. They're creating that space and looking long straight away with confidence.
All too easy. Nat Medhurst, one of the matchups we talked about was Watson on Jess Anstis. What have you made of that?
Yeah, as the crowd is getting very loud here, But we actually haven't spoken much around Liz Watson and Jess Antis during this first half of netball. And Liz Watson is only sitting on 10.5 net points, so that's really low from her. She's actually being forced off the circle where she isn't being able to do that damage close to the circle edge and be really creative with her feeds into that goal circle. So it's a credit to Jess Antis in the way in which she's defending her, that pressure first and foremost off the centre pass. So this is still another key matchup. Liz wants to get herself really into this game.
Yeah, well, we've talked so much about that semi-final, haven't we? And whether the Melbourne Vixens were under par or whether they were forced into the mistakes that they made. And this grand final, I think, is painting a picture that the West Coast Fever are just making them work overtime, forcing the errors and continuing to impress when they have the ball in attack. Yeah, well, it's one of the few wins that's come through defence in this second and third quarter, isn't it, for the Melbourne Vixens? A few wins in the first. There's your intercepts, and they're heavily in favour of the Melbourne Vixens, 5-2, but we saw the deflections before. Well and truly, the West Coast Fever there. Kira Austin, can she sink another and get this margin back? She can. Here's the Harvey Norman replay. Look at the face of Joe Weston.
Well, the Vixens only have 5 games. The Fever have 8, and we know with both of these teams, anyone who can get over that 10 in the games and then convert them usually wins.
Well, that's been the telling stat for the Melbourne Vixens this whole season. They've had 10 or more games. They have won every contest. Ball just coming off the foot, which isn't allowed. That is a penalty. Kawenda narrows the gap. Back to 5. 7.5 minutes to play, and again the umpire's stopping the clock. Here's the last run of 10, and the last 3, the Melbourne Vixens. You mentioned the West Coast Fever want to keep this gap, keep them out of the game. Well, they're not going to lie down here, Maddie.
The third quarter, we talk about it being the premiership quarter. Both teams want to not only just win this first 10 minutes, but I think the power play in this third quarter is going to come down to it.
Well, there's your score breakdown, your quarter time breakdown. The West Coast Fever taking the first 2. Interesting to note, though, you mentioned the championship quarter. The third quarter is the worst for the Melbourne Vixens. They've only won 38% of them this season. That's a challenge in itself to get over, isn't it? 5 the difference. Tek Hill has done the job, has been steady. Oh, I cannot believe the ball and the takes from Janelle Fowler. She impresses me every game, but I've not seen so many of these strung together in one quarter, Manny.
Well, I mean, you could probably, as we have a look at here, she's just nearly at halfway. Threads it in, she takes the knock.
And takes the ball. That is the important part, isn't it? It's that strong belief in herself, and that gives nothing but confidence to the players around her.
Vixens on the centre pass, trying to work on that wall set up. They're asking for that flood of the goal attack and wing attack. Now trying to set up a bit of a zone. So we spoke about their penalty count. They've started to sit off the space.
And again, the double defence inside the circle. All it takes, though, is that drive from Glasgow. Pulls one defender ever so slightly. Fowler, home alone.
And the hardest thing for the Vixens, if they want to stay in play and create, we look at those circle feeds. 25 from Simmons.
Well, we mentioned Lizzie Watson having a quiet game, but she's still sitting up there. Equal feeds with Verity Simmons at 25.
A great contest here from Jess Antis.
Here it is on the Harvey Norman replay. Great contest, just body on body, wasn't it? Hard to call which way.
I thought it was just going to be out of play on the Vixens. I think both. Oh, as you see, Kira Austin.
Well,
I'll get it back another way.
Yeah, maybe that's a little bit of karma. Joe Weston, Kate Eddy. Goes back to Lewis. Really fighting for it, Verity Simmons. Well, there's just no easy route here for the Melbourne Vixens. And another huge win
but you saw every single attacker up, trying to help out. It's hard when you're chasing from behind because you start to add on and try and do a bit more.
Smart work there, Sasha Glasgow. Heard the hooter. Worked the ball out. Another step or two. And that is why. Because she has the hot hand from Suncorp super shot territory.
And not surprised at HCF timeout here called by the Vixens.
Here's the contest that we just saw earlier. Verity Simmons on Lizzie Watson. And Lizzie Watson, the hands in the air.
Didn't touch her.
Sasha Glasgow. Look at the crowd behind her, arms up. 8 the difference here. Let's have a listen to Simone McInnes.
And this is it. Got to tidy up the penalties a little bit down here because we need fair play and we need to go for ball. Relax and just go for ball, all right? Don't think about. Be aware in that middle third that they're sitting in space. It's a zone, so we can't sit outside of it. We have to work off each other. Somebody has to be punching through, so there's got to be options.
Sasha wants to shoot twos.
Just be aware, 2 points there in that. Let's go, guys.
Let's go, come on, girls. We got this. Don't you have to fight? We're getting some ball, we score, and then we score some pass, all right? Stay calm, all right? Let's go. It's a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Calm, very clear instruction coming from the captain in Liz Watson. This game is not out of the question. If you think about the margins they have come back from before, Rani Samuson is on court. She will make the difference. We've seen Sasha Glasgow do the damage down the other end.
Emily Mannix also coming back on. Liv Lewis, usually a bit of an impact player, came on. Now Simone has asked the defenders to tidy up and let's just loosen up a little bit and start flying for that ball.
Yeah, the Melbourne Vixens were in control of this third quarter, but that very quickly turned because of the hot hand of Sasha Glasgow. 9 the difference. They've just continued to build here, the West Coast Fever. Plenty of push and shove happening in this grand final. The West Coast Fever, the last 3. There's been some good runs between the two sides, but it's more often than not the West Coast Fever. This ball's got to get to Rani Samuson at this point of the contest, surely. It does. Can't sink them. Takes the all-important rebound, though, and Kira Austin knows exactly where they need to be at this point. Right there in that white arc, and these have got to start to fall. They don't. Courtney Bruce. The all-important rebound.
Hands obstruction!
Simmons, Teague Neal. Well, it was all too easy to see Fowler there. Emily Mannix just thought no other opportunity here but to try and reject the pass.
Surprising not to go for the 2. We said in the first half she was just having her crack. You've got that buffer, but you know it's your centre pass. Once you get that turnover ball, you know it's your centre pass. Emily Mannix trying to get a bit of a tip in there.
Well, 10 up, they're probably not forcing the Suncorp super shots at this point, aren't they? But that's the difference, is the rebounding. 5-2, the West Coast Fever. That's just continuing to give them opportunity. Well, slips through the fingers for Janelle Fowler. Could this be a turning point in this game? So often there's big moments like that that shift the momentum. But they have to score from it here, the Melbourne Vixens.
And what we saw the last time it came down the court, we saw all the attackers coming up trying to help. As we see just in that lowest part of the screen, Kira Austin, good, getting some depth. Looking at those missing net points again, the match leaders, Glasgow, Fowler, the 2 shooting superstars for the Fever. Austin, once again, the only Vixen in there. Fever absolutely dominating the points.
Have a look at the confusion in the circle, though. Both trying to set screens for each other. Someone needs just to put their head down and demand the ball. Nat Medhurst.
Out of my mouth. You've got both players trying to do the same thing. They're not working together. They need to set the screens, and this 2-point shot, they're doing so much work in actually trying to get the ball, let alone then turning around and actually delivering it and getting it through. There's a lot of pressure on them, so they need to work a lot smarter together. And I think for me, Austin, as the senior player in there at the moment, really needs to take charge in these last 2 minutes.
Absolutely, Nat Medhurst.
It's that question, you know, like you all want to be the hero, but you've got to just go back to playing your role right now. And Rani Samison's on there for a reason. So, Kerry, you got to do a bit of that work, sweeping the baseline and getting her available for the ball.
You all want to be the hero, but to do that, you've got to get the ball in your hands. You're not trying to give it to somebody else, as you just see Janelle Fowler do that. 13,908 people packed in here to RAC Arena, the biggest grand final appearance to date in the Suncorp Super Netball, and won't they make a difference if the West Coast Fever can get over the line here? 11 the difference.
That's a better screen by Austin.
These have got to start falling though for the Melbourne Vixens, and you know that Rani Samison is more than capable of doing it. That is 2 points closer. Melbourne Vixens, they need some turnover ball here. Who's going to get it for them? Who steps up here? Simmons, Glasgow, Anstis. Simmons just wants to continue. She feels the momentum's with them.
But really well done there by Alice Teague-Neal to say, no, it's my penalty. Let's just take a deep breath. We do not need to get caught up in all of the emotion and the energy of the crowd right now.
52 seconds to play in this third quarter. 10 the difference. West Coast Fever leading this quarter 18-14, have been consistent. It was 18 in the first, 17 in the second, 18 in the third. Austin, the pressure, nails it. A Suncorp super shot to Kira Austin, gets them back to 8. 27 seconds. Plenty of time here for the West Coast Fever to score, particularly with the ball skills of Janelle Fowler on fleek today.
Glasgow, what a roll-off.
Yep, smart work, Janelle Fowler. She looked for a moment like she was going to try and force it out. 5 seconds. I don't think there'll be enough time here for the Melbourne Vixens, but they've got to try.
Oh, Ariane gets a tip.
Beautiful defensive pressure. Run out of time, the Melbourne Vixens. The West Coast Fever leading 54-45. Let's get straight to Bianca, who's in the Melbourne fan zone.
Thanks, Catherine. What an amazing performance it has been so far. I called in Sherelle McMahon again. What do the Vixens need to do? You've been there, you've done it before.
Well, I think there needs to be some real strength in that goal shooting circle. Let's be honest, that's where it's going to come for. When those opportunities come, they need to stand up. So looking forward to seeing that.
Can they do it?
Absolutely, they can do it. We saw it last week. They've got it in them, and I think that defensive pressure is where it's going to come from.
Before this next 15 minutes, it's everything. Give your everything of yourself out there on court. You drive hard, you drive like you want the ball. You can test like you want the ball. 15 minutes of the best of the Vixens. All right, 15 minutes, the best of the Vixens.
Well, you just heard Simone McInnes say we've been in this position before. Less than a week ago, they were down by 9 points in that prelim final at this very same place in the game. And they went on to win it against the Giants by 1. It is not out of the question here for the Melbourne Vixens.
And the hardest thing is going to be to stop that woman down in that goal circle. She is so dominant. We obviously see a switch in the goal shooter position for the Vixens. Kawenda on, Samison off.
Kawenda really has to stand up here for me though. She's got to get herself under the ball. Well, I don't know, I'm not feeling it from Kawenda today. I would put Samison on and just give Samison and Austin some clear instruction about how to play with each other.
Yep. I mean, one thing that the Fever are doing really well against that Vixens attack is they're forcing them wide. We saw it swing from one side of the circle to the other. They're setting up that box and really dominating that centre channel and forcing the Vixens wide to the sidelines, which is the hardest place to feed.
10 the difference. Janelle Fowler will easily make it 11 from there. Well, the juggernaut from the West just continues on. Have not dipped in any of the quarters so far. Just continuing to build and build beautifully across this grand final contest. Teague Neal, Simmons. Fowler outside the circle. Again, though, doesn't seem to bother them at all, the West Coast Fever. They'll reset.
Jess Ansers is just constantly an option and a backup for them on that transverse line. They've gone to her, they've gone back, they've penetrated forward. This is a different Fever we haven't seen. They're very patient. They're not prepared to throw it in unless they know it's definitely going to get there.
They're completely calm and completely confident, aren't they? You're so right. They really haven't wavered. They haven't gone away from the game plan. Defensive change being made up the other end for the Melbourne Vixens too in that Origin Energy three-quarter time break. Kate Eddy on at goal defence. And Mannix back to goalkeeper. Joey Weston on the wing. So potentially that move is to get a little bit of extra height over Teague Neal, stop that feed going in so easily. Would that be what that's about, Matt?
Absolutely, because, I mean, she's had 25 feeds and, you know, we know that Alice Teague Neal is where the supply comes from. She's so dominant. I mean, Glasgow is the one that is tearing them apart, so maybe that is the change-up to try and get Eddie into the game, to maybe stop her, especially when we come to that final 5 minutes.
Yeah, Kira Austin going about her business, though. 11 the difference here in Perth. Verity Simmons growing with confidence in that feed to Janelle Fowler, the Jamaican superstar. Still just the one miss in this game, sitting at 98%. There's the Harvey Norman replay. They're coming from distance from the midcourt.
Contact. That is goal.
Well, I'll tell you what, the pressure is well and truly going to be on this last 5 minutes of play, isn't it, Maddie?
It is. And that's where you wonder, you know, Rani Samuelson going to the bench, does it make her cold on the shot, you know, put a lot of pressure on the youngster to come on. I mean, it is her job. We know that she's such a good shooter.
Nat Medhurst is on the sideline for us. Nat, is this the best you've seen the West Coast Fever attack line?
Oh, it is, and I think the way in which they're using the ball, so smart, as you said. Jess Anstis is always there on backup. They're not forcing these balls. They're giving it when it is on for Fowler and giving that long ball. But what would be really frustrating for the Vixens is they need to catch up. And at the moment, it's almost as though Fever have even taken a real conscious approach of slowing it down even more so, which chews up time, which prevents the Vixens from actually getting themselves back into this game.
Yeah, such a good point, Nat. And as we said, that's why that last 5 minutes is going to be absolutely critical, isn't it? Melbourne Vixens will be wishing that power 5 was a power 10. Glasgow. Well, again, two very viable options for the West Coast Fever. One at the top of the circle in Glasgow, one under the post in Fowler.
On the flip side in the Vixens, you see that two over the line on the centre pass. I'd love to see them go back door. Get those attackers down so they can drive onto the ball rather than always having to go laterally with those passes. And that's a credit to the Fever defence, but you want to change it up, stop being so predictable in attack.
Well, Courtney Bruce, she came out of the blocks firing, didn't she? But relatively quiet in this second half. By Courtney Bruce standards. Let's just set that straight. There is a very good challenge on the body, the physicality that still kept clean. Ariane back to Anstis, back to Bruce. Again, a long way back, but no panic here in this West Coast Fever. Simmons. Glasgow to Simmons, the quick double play and back. Fowler. Well, a tip comes, the chase doesn't though. So the bread and butter of the Melbourne Vixens, they're not even winning those. That's those loose ball gets.
And an absolute death stare to the umpire. I think it's that holding onto the arms, pulling down.
All that stuff she thought she had addressed at half-time.
You just got to weather that though. She's not calling it, not calling it, you got to be better.
You can't tell me in a grand final the defenders are going to be on their best behaviour.
Are you holding on for dear life? Fever just working that time and tempo that we heard Coach Dan Ryan speak about. And Nat even briefly touched on it, you know, prepared to work again, multiple options, slow it down. When they're ready, let it go.
Have a look how calm they are in attack. It is actually mind-boggling, isn't it, that this is such a big occasion.
But it's that deficit that they've got that they can feel so calm and composed right now. I'm sure if it was a bit tighter, it would be interesting to see whether they'd have that confidence to release it on that first or second.
Well, they've worked hard to get the buffer, haven't they? So if they can sit back and enjoy it somewhat, good on them. I don't feel like the Melbourne Vixens are going to allow that to happen, though. 11 is the difference still here in the final quarter of this Suncorp Super Netball Grand Final. Sold out arena here at RAC in Perth. And they have been very vocal from start to finish. Janelle Fowler still just the one miss. Sitting at 98%. Mentioned she's averaging 58 goals a game. She's on track. 52 at the moment. Kamwenda gets one back.
And we spoke about in that first quarter, she seemed quite low on volume, but as the game has started to build, she has built with that volume as well. And a credit to Glasgow for stepping up when she really needed to in those first few quarters.
Nat Medhurst, what do you make of the change for the Vixens defence line?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by it, to be honest. One change that I would actually probably like to see Simone make. This crowd, I cannot hear myself think. Is in that round 10 game, we actually saw Mannix out at goal defence with Liv Lewis back at goalkeeper. That height, and obviously with Weston out at wing defence as well, might just do something a little bit different for them. I don't think that the change that they have done at the moment with Eddie out on goal defence has worked for them. They are trying everything to slow down this Fever attack. But we do know Liv Lewis, she can hunt. So if the players out in front of her are doing their job, they might be in with a chance to get some ball.
Well, there's been a change made in defence for the West Coast Fever as well. Stacey Francis-Bayman in at goal defence. Courtney Bruce still back at goalkeeper. And Francis-Bayman has been exceptional coming on as an impact player this season.
And I think that change has come because there might be a bit of cramp from Ariang. You see, you know, the medico staff working tirelessly on those calves. But what a great addition into the game, Stacey Francis-Bayman. We know that she can get some ball. She's played at this club for a long period of time.
Big rebound from Kamwenda. Or Courtney Bruce too. Is she taking a little corking on the knee or something? Looking a little bit ginger. Well, I'm sure she'll shake that off. There's only 6 minutes to go in this grand final. There she is. Let's keep an eye on her. She's an important piece of this puzzle, that is for sure.
All the people have to do is on their centre pass, make the score count right now. Keep chipping away at it. Don't take any risky passes. All the pressure is on the Vixens.
Janelle Fowler is looking for challenges. She's actually stepping into every shot now, into two defenders.
She really wants to showcase that.
Come on, give it to me. Well, there's an HCF timeout for the West Coast Fever. Up by 12. And again, I just love this from Dan Ryan. He's in no position to have to worry about.
It might just be to let those
timeouts.
players have a bit of a moment, though, to gather themselves again as well.
It could be, but I feel like he just wants to put the foot down, doesn't he? He really wants to kick them while they're down here.
Then let's all go back to one-on-one and have a crack at the ball.
And have a look for the ones that are coming and driving past that you can pick up and play those.
Have a look here on the Harvey Norman replay. This is what happened to Courtney Bruce. Yeah, it just looked like she took a knock to the top of the knee.
Kneecap on kneecap and a bit of a hyperextension there.
Oh, Dr. Brown.
Well, look,
in the house.
I'm a little bit well equipped in the knee area, unfortunately.
Well, that's true. Speaking from experience, 5.5 minutes to play here. The most important part, 36 seconds from the Power 5. Rani Samason in that semi-final shot 5 from 6 super shots to really narrow the gap. They can get it back oh so quickly if they can get the ball and fire, as we see Frances Bayman hit the deck.
She's not on the court though, Kath.
Nat Medhurst.
Yeah, out of the Vixens, we've seen Eddie and Weston switch positions. There's a huge rebound there for Courtney Bruce. So Weston has gone back to her normal position at goal defence, Eddie back at wing defence. And for you guys over there, you know as a player when you are in front, that feeling, but then on the flip side, when you're down and you realise possibly that the game is out of your hands, just how you feel. It's a sickening feeling. We do know this two-point shot can change things very, very quickly, but it'll be interesting to see the body language possibly of the Vixens, how that changes in these last few minutes.
Well, the body language, but also the coaching style here. We're in the Power 5. The Vixens are down by 12. Summerson is not on the court. All of a sudden, there is a monumental amount of pressure on Kira Austin's shoulders. Kamwenda, not known for shooting the super shot. What can they do here, the Melbourne Vixens? Well, at the moment, they've done all the right things. They've turned the ball over. They've got it down, caught quickly, but they've got to finish it off. Well, look at the face there of Simone McInnes. Is that telling, or is that telling Maddie Brown?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Nat mentioned, the players out there are trying absolutely everything. They're flying, but they're getting caught on the body. Fever in no rush to let the ball go. Eddie C flying again.
Wow, look at Sasha Glasgow. She's been at the top of that list of net points match leaders all game, but has just continued to go higher and higher.
So 2 times it's come down to the Fever attack, and they've gone for a 2-point shot and then a stepping on the line. They need to be really careful here. I know there's only 3 minutes 30, but you want to enjoy this moment. You want to be clinical right to the very end, not let any edge come to the Vixens. Courtney Bruce, she's been pivotal as well, getting up to those rebounds.
Well, how smart. They're letting Kamwenda take that 2-point shot. We don't care if you have it there. Shoot the life out. Shoot for the game.
The pressure is on.
Well, she's missed 2. What they're doing, though, is keeping Kira Austin out of that, and that is important. Kira Austin, the tip, and Eddie with the picker. 3 minutes to play here, 12 the difference. It's not out of the question, but the Melbourne Vixens have got to keep possession, which they just can't do here.
This last couple of minutes has been riddled with penalties and mistakes and turnovers. There's some tired bodies. It has been played at an intense pace, but you've got to keep the ball moving, keep offering. You practice these moments in training. Now's the time.
Look how patient, chewing up the clock, as Nat Medhurst said, how important that is in times like this. Look at the bench. They know how close they are. It's 2.5 minutes and an HCF timeout. Wow. Can the West Coast Fever take their first premiership in 25 years? They are on the precipice of that happening. 13 the difference. Let's get down and listen to the mastermind.
Every move we make, harness onto every catch, get to circle edge, 1-pointers if we need them. Defensively, be courageous, be brave, and go for everything. Time and tempo.
Calm the bloody confident. Let's need to call each other. Here we go. Fever, 3, 1, 2, 3. Fever!
Well, you look at that Fever, Halil, and they still want more. Dan Ryan said, be aggressive. Let's not let off now. We want to be courageous, but it's that time and tempo. Get control, and let's win this the way that we've played the entire game.
Surely they're feeling confident at this point, Maddie. 2.5 minutes, 13 the difference.
There's a few little smiles, but this is the thing about the Super Shot. You never want to count it out. But I reckon with another 30 seconds to go, feel this energy, listen to this crowd.
This crowd, they're on their feet, they are chanting. It is a sea of green. If that can't get them over the line in this last 2.5 minutes, well, then nothing's going to. The West Coast Fever, ball in hand, in complete control of this game. They have taken every quarter, and they lead this final one 14-10. Fowler, still just the 1 miss in this contest. And her goal attack, Sasha Glasgow, has been extraordinary.
Fever across the board have all played their role, won their position, and when they've needed to, each and every one of them have come up with the goods at a moment in the game. They've known the critical moments. It hasn't just been one person stand out the entire time. They've all chipped in. That's exactly what wins your premierships.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Maddie Brown is Kamwenda. Well, they're fighting to the death here, aren't they, the Melbourne Vixens? But you've got to suggest it's a little too late. 1 minute 45 to go, and it's 13 the difference here. And again, look how calm and composed the West Coast Fever are. Well, thought about chewing the clock there, Sasha Glasgow, but realised, why would I do that? I got Janelle Fowler under the post.
And have a look at Dan Ryan. He is loving this.
Why would he not? It's been such a massive couple of weeks. They won their way straight through to this grand final. The West Coast Fever, they had the week off. They've taken in all the goes with being in the big dance and being able to do it at home.
The Fever bench are all standing up. They know exactly what's about to happen.
1 minute away from a premiership here, the West Coast Fever. Wow, and they still look composed. A little bit of a blimp right at the end there between Simmons and Teague Neal. The long ball, Austin. What can she do? Kamwenda back to Austin, 45 seconds.
The crowd are all up on their feet.
Well, it doesn't sink for Kira Austin. Have a look at the crowd. They are on their feet, as you say, Maddie Brown. Wow, the bench is on their feet. Dan Ryan just continues to look at the scoreboard. It is not counting down fast enough for him.
The roof, they want the roof to lift off. It is incredible.
12 the difference. And look at the toying with the ball. Verity Simmons throws one away, but they don't care. Dan Ryan is on the brink of tears, the emotion. 4 seconds. The final shot, but little too late. It is fever pitch here at RAC Arena in Perth as they take their first premiership in 25 years. It was the Perth Orioles before them, but now the West Coast Fever are your 2022 Suncorp Super Netball champions. And have a look at the emotion, Maddie. It is absolute scenes here at Perth, and so it should be.
It is not only the people on the court. Have a look at Courtney Bruce embraced in Dan Ryan's arms. Every single person in this venue knows exactly what it means, not only to this team, not only to these players, but to this state. And you can see the devastation on the Vixens. It is hard. You were so close. But today, the Fever were outstanding from start right to the finish.
They were. They won that first quarter, 18-14. Then it was 17-15, 19-16. Took the last 16-14. They built so beautifully across those 4 quarters. They were consistent. They've been consistent all season, and they thoroughly deserve this moment. And this moment, I suspect, is going to last a few weeks, Maddie Brown. There's going to be some serious partying.
And it's even, I'm sure there's a lot of past players that have always also donned the green for the West Coast. Sue Gordy, and we see everyone looks elated. There is not really a dry eye here with this Fever crew. But every person...
Sue Gordian and Dan Ryan come together. Well, 2 very important people to the club, aren't they?
And probably that sense of relief.
Look at Dan Ryan.
We've done it.
He's in tears. Is that relief? Is that elation? It's probably a combination of all of those emotions. What a year back with the West Coast Fever. His first year at the club, and goes on to take a premiership and do it in spectacular fashion. And just so many of the players with their hands to their mouth in disbelief that they've finally done it. 25 years, it's a long time to wait. Courtney Bruce, well, she led by example right from the start, didn't she?
Absolutely. From that very first passage of play, she got her hand on a ball. She set her intent. She said, we are here to play. Another player who was instrumental, Sasha Glasgow. Look at them all embracing each other. So much emotion. It's taken a whole green army to get them there, but you have done it, West Coast Fever. Be super proud.
Well, I can't wait to get down there and hand this trophy over. I'm going to sneak off, but let's get down to Nat Medhurst, who's with a very happy West Coast Fever.
Janelle Fowler, Premiership player. You have been through everything with this club over the last few years. Tell us exactly how you are feeling right now.
I have no words, Nat. Oh my God. I'm filled with emotions, but yeah, I'm so happy for this win.
And there's been a lot around the history the last couple of years. You've always been so close. What has been the difference for you guys to actually get this job done?
I reckon the experience that we have coming through so many finals and missing out, coupled with the work that we've put in this season, knowing what we had to do and come out here and do it.
And what does this mean to you? You've been over here, you are targeted week in, week out. Your ability to stand up and deliver. For you personally, to be this Premiership player, to deliver for this club, what does it mean?
Oh my God. It means a lot knowing that I'm even here by myself, my family's not here, and being able to stand strong and have this amazing family behind me and come out week in, week out and being muscled and being pushed and beaten and still being able to hold the ball and shoot it, it means a lot. And I'm happy that I was able to step across that line today.
You are a multi-MVP player and now you are a Premiership one, so go and enjoy it. And Shani, who have you got?
I'm down here with Sasha Glasgow. Sasha, can you believe it? First West Coast Premiership in 25 years.
It's incredible. I mean, you only have to listen to the crowd and see everyone behind us. That this means so much to us, and yeah, we couldn't have dreamed of a better ending.
The crowd, they were going nuts from 2 minutes out, then 30 seconds out. How did you keep it together on the court?
I didn't really. I think I was just smiling, looking at them, looking up at my family, and yeah, just looking at the girls. I'm so proud of this group and what we've done.
As soon as the game finished, I saw you rush over to the bench. Was that to say thank you to everyone else that's a part of the team?
Yeah, so obviously it's not just the 10 that suit up every week. It's the training partners, it's the staff, it's all of our support system. They mean so much to us, and they're just as part of this win as we are in the 10.
And the crowd, what did the crowd mean to you tonight?
Oh, everything. I mean, to have it at RAC Arena, have it at home, and to hear them, it's just incredible. And finally, we've brought it home, we've done it for them, and yeah, so proud.
Did you ever think you'd win a premiership?
No, first grand final, so I'm stoked.
Well, congratulations, Sasha. All the best. Back to you, Han.
Thank you, Shani. Maddie Brown, let's celebrate this win with the Fever. Look at the joy. Look at the tears. Courtney Bruce, she's been here before. She knows the devastating heartbreak of losing a grand final, but today, redemption. Absolutely, and you can see, look at them. They are praising to the ground. Thank you, we have finally done it. As I said earlier, it is not about just these players and these coaches and the staff and the work. I mean, they've done all the blood, sweat and tears, but this community, this state, they've been desperate for this win for so long, and they've been screaming for it. And look at them, they all showed out here today. What a day for the West Coast Fever. Never in Premiership history has a Western Australian team taken home the silverware, but that's exactly what they've done tonight. Let's go on court now with Kath Cox for the trophy presentation.
Already I feel like this is going to be the easiest presentation I have ever done. What an amazing match we've just witnessed between these two world-class sides, and a very fitting conclusion to the 2022 Suncorp Super Netball season. I'd like to begin our post-match presentation by acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people, traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, and pay our respects to elders past and present, extending that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us here today. The West Coast Fever. They've just finished a stellar season by winning their first ever Suncorp Super Netball Premiership in front of a full house here at RAC Arena. the biggest Suncorp Super Netball Grand Final attendance. Congratulations. It has been a long 25-year wait, so we know the Wild West will be partying hard into the night tonight. To get presentations underway, I'd like to welcome to the stage Netball Australia CEO Kelly Ryan, CEO Insurance, Product and Portfolio for Suncorp, Lisa Harrison, the West Australian Deputy Premier and Minister for Tourism, the Honourable Roger Cook. As I'm joined by this group, I'd like to pass on a big thank you to our principal partner, Suncorp, broadcast partner, the Foxtel Group, and the great family of league and club partners, including major partners Nissan, HCF, Woolworths and Origin. Our partners are fundamental to the growth of Suncorp Super Netball and to netball more broadly in this country. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all the people behind the scenes at Netball Australia and the Super Netball clubs. I'd like to make special mention to Tourism WA and the West Australian Government for hosting this 2022 Suncorp Super Netball Grand Final. I don't have to convince you guys that it was a good idea. To all the netball fans, both here and of course at home watching, we thank you too. This series has been the most exciting to date and your support of the world's greatest netball league has been unwavering. You truly are the beating heart of this great game. To start the awards presentation, my God, I love you guys. You're just going to cheer at absolutely everything I say. To start the awards presentation, I'd like to call forward Netball Australia CEO Kelly Ryan to present the umpires' medals. Firstly, Gemma Cook, Tara Warner and Bronwood Adams. Congratulations to the three umpires on deck today, but also to all the umpires who have officiated right throughout the season. A big thank you to the bench officials both today and throughout the season as well. I'd now like to hand over to Suncorp CEO of Insurance, Product and Portfolio, Lisa Harrison, to say a few words.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying a very big thank you to this crowd. You have made a fantastic match even more fantastic. I would also like to acknowledge the Honourable Roger Cook and Kelly Ryan. And I want to congratulate both teams on a fantastic season and a tremendous match that we've all experienced tonight. And I want to congratulate everyone involved in the 2022 Suncorp Super Netball season. The athletes, the coaches, the officials, the partners and the fans. As Kath said, arguably this is the world's best netball league. This is the 6th year that Suncorp has been involved with the season and we couldn't be more thrilled. And we're also thrilled to partner with the Confident Girls Foundation. Now, I know this crowd loves the Suncorp Super Shot, and throughout the year, there's been over 550 Super Shots scored. And Suncorp has donated $100 for every Super Shot scored, and so we'll be donating over $55,000 to the Confident Girls Foundation. So congratulations again to both teams for a fantastic grand final. Congratulations to the West Coast Fever and enjoy the celebrations. Thank you.
Thank you to Lisa and also a big thank you to Suncorp for your continued support of netball and for keeping women and girls in our great game. I'd now ask the Deputy Premier and Minister for Tourism, the Honourable Roger Cook, to come forward to present the Nissan Player of the Match.
Perth, how much do we love our netball? You know, the McGowan government is so proud to have brought the grand final here to Western Australia as part of our Winter Live Sports Festival for 2022, and we're so pleased the West Coast Fever could be part of that action. In WA, we love our sport, we love our tourists, we love everyone to come to Western Australia. So welcome to all of those of you who have come here to be here at the final this weekend. It's great to have you with us. We hope you stay, wander out longer, wander out yonder and really enjoy yourself here in Western Australia. But congratulations to both teams. We are really proud of the spectacle that you put on here tonight. And of course, congratulations to the Fever for winning this evening. It's my privilege to announce the most valuable player for tonight. And I'm very proud to say that the most valuable player award for this evening goes to Sasha Glasgow.
Congratulations to Sasha Glasgow. Miss Australia, of course, great contributors to Suncorp Super Netball, and today awarding the Nissan Player of the Match $1,000. So ladies, you know who the drinks are on, girls, later on. Sasha Glasgow, watch out. Well, whilst it didn't go their way today, they certainly put up a great fight and a testament to their season that they made it to the grand final. I would like to welcome the Vixens co-captains Kate Maloney and Liz Watson to the stage.
We're going to keep this short and sweet, but firstly, massive congratulations to West Coast Fever, to Dan, to Courtney. You guys were too good today, so well deserved. To Netball Australia and SSN, this competition gets better every year, and it was a credit to Fever today. You were too good.
And just to our family, the Vixens family, we've got some of you here. Rosie, Kin and Netball Victoria, to get us over here. It's been a great season for us. Obviously lots of highs and lows, but girls, hold your heads high today. Yeah, let's celebrate what was our season, but thank you so much to our family, friends, fans back home. I know you're cheering for us. We really appreciate everything you've done this season. Thank you.
Very well said, as usual, ladies, and congratulations on what's been a great season. Well, let's now turn our attention to what we know every single person in this stadium and in WA has been waiting for. Celebrating your 2022 Suncorp Super Netball champions. We'd now like to call up each of the Fever Championship winning players to receive their medal from the Woolworths Net Set Go participants. Jess Anstis. Sunday Ariane. Emma Kosh. The Jamaican superstar, Janelle Fowler. Stacey Francis Bateman. MVP, Sasha Glasgow. Verity Simmons. Who looks like she could play another game of netball. Alice Teague-Neal. Coach Dan Ryan. And your captain, courageous, Courtney Bruce. And Courtney, the microphone's all yours.
Okay, we'll take a deep breath. Firstly, to the Vixens, to Lizzie, to Kate, to Simone, you guys have been the standard all season. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal, and thank you for a fantastic battle throughout the year. Secondly, a huge thank you to Netball Australia for making today possible and helping us sell out the arena. It's nice to have your backing and know that, yeah, we've got all this support here. To Suncorp, to Kayo, and to all of the league sponsors, thank you for backing us in and supporting us after 2 really hard years with COVID. It's been phenomenal to be on Kayo and have so much viewing for everyone here, so that's been great. And to West Coast Fever's elite partners, Gold Industry Group, Live Lighter and UWA, thank you for sponsoring us, thank you for backing us in, thank you for making this possible. Thank you to the Minister and the WA Government for obviously hosting the grand final and it being here. And to our Green Army. Oh my God, no words. To sell out the arena and for how loud you guys have been today. Oh, I couldn't even hear myself yelling at the girls on the court. So thank you so much for showing up week in, week out, supporting us, especially after 2 hard years of hardly playing in Perth. To sell this arena out, you guys are something else. And lastly, to Dan, to our Fever staff and to all the girls. We bloody did it. 25 years in the making. I'm so proud of you guys.
Well done, Courtney, and congratulations again. Well, to hand the trophy to the Premiers, I invite back Suncorp CEO, Insurance Product and Profile, Lisa Harrison. Congratulations to the 2022 Suncorp Super Netball champions, the West Coast Fever.